Welcome to NFL News, January 26, 2026. I do want to talk about news that happened yesterday during the conference championship game, which, by the way, I was watching conference championship games. So I want to do this quick as possible before we get to today's news. So from yesterday, we had the Bills interviewing Jaguars offensive coordinator Grant Newton for its open head coaching job, which kind of feels like the Bills want to go offensive mind coaching, and he is a younger minded coach. Makes a lot of sense. Commanders run game coordinator Anthony Lynn has completed his interview for the Browns head coaching job. Now, today, of course, we've been told that Grant Unsicht, the Jaguars OC, has withdrawn the Cleveland Browns job, and he is agreeing a new deal which will make him stay in Jacksonville to stay as the offensive coordinator. This fits. It makes a lot of sense that he wants to stay in Jacksonville, as he is going to take this job as the OC for Jacksonville. For the Browns, it's a mess up. I don't know what's going on, but it's a mess up in Cleveland. All right, but the big surprise, the biggest story yesterday was the Packers hiring former Cardinals head coach Jonathan Gannon as their new defensive coordinator. This is a great hire for the Packers. You replace Jeff Hafley, who's now with the Dolphins as the head coach, and you bring in a former head coach, and Jonathan Gannon calls the defense really tremendously, by the way. Look at the highlights he did with the Eagles 3 years ago. The job that he did with the Eagles defense to their Super Bowl 57 run, very impressive. So I believe this is a good hire. I'll give this one an A+. He's a great defensive schemer, and I do believe when they get Micah Parsons healthy, watch for those stunts for Jonathan Gannon to use for Micah Parsons and this defense. Miami hires former Titans wide receivers coach Taki Tolbert as its new wide receivers coach. So he'll be joining Bobby Slowick's offensive staff. The Giants are hiring former Titans defensive coordinator Denard Wilson to be their new defensive coordinator. Plus, they also are hiring former Ravens assistant Chris Horton as their new assistant head coach and special teams coordinator. I want to get to the Denard Wilson hire. This is an interesting hire. I thought they would go maybe to the Ravens connection like Zach Orr, but John Harbaugh is in a new team, wants to try something new, and Denard Wilson, who was from Philadelphia, who was coaching the Eagles as a defensive staff assistant, left to be the Titans defensive coordinator. Now he's going to get this second attempt as defensive coordinator, but with the Giants. This one I'll give it an A with the players that he's going to be coaching defensively with Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau. He's gonna have a lot of good players on that defense. I think he's gonna coach very well for this John Harbaugh defense. Commanders interviewed Vikings defensive pass game coordinator Deron Jones for the DC job, and we have some breaking news for today. The Commanders are finalizing a deal to hire Deron Jones, the defensive pass game coordinator from the Vikings, to become their new defensive coordinator. This is a massive hire, and I believe this is a great hire because he's one of those rising head coaches that probably would end up getting not just the DC job, but maybe the head coaching job. So he's going to go to Washington, and we'll see if Dan Quinn will still call the defense or will be handed those defensive calls to Deron Jones. I'll give this one a B+, just because it's going to be his first time as a defensive coordinator. He's going to have a lot of fully slate duties with Dan Quinn as the head coach for the Commanders. So for Deron Jones, welcome to Washington, D.C. Welcome to the football of Washington Commanders defensive coordinator. Congrats. Let's go to today's news. So the Rams, after losing to the Seahawks in the conference championship game yesterday, we're told that Rams offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur is scheduled for a second in-person interview today and Tuesday for Arizona's head coaching job. What does that mean? Well, there is a chance Mike LaFleur is ending up to become the next head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. And think of this, 2 days, he's interviewing today, which we'll see how impressive was that interview, and tomorrow, we might be hearing that on that day tomorrow, we might get Mike LaFleur to be the next head coach of the Cardinals. Again, that's my opinion. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, what a hire for the Cardinals to, after 4 weeks of searching for a new head coach. It looks like they're finally getting closer for that new head coaching hiring. Falcons are hiring Craig Ackerman to be their new special teams coordinator. They're also hiring Robert Prince as their wide receivers coach, Bob Quinn as their senior advisor of the head coach. They will retain Justin Hood as their secondary coach, Nate Oley as the D-line coach, and Kevin Koger as their tight ends coach. Ravens are interviewing Lions assistant head coach and receivers coach Scotty Morgan to be there for the offensive coordinator job. This one I think is kind of interesting because he is one of those rising offensive coordinators that would probably end up getting this kind of job. And let me tell you, Ravens fans are not worried about Jesse Mitchell. Great hire, by the way. They're going to pay attention to this offensive coordinator search. Who is going to be calling the plays for Lamar Jackson and that Ravens offense? So as of right now, Scotty Morgan is interviewing with the Ravens for the OC job. All right, Phillip Rivers has withdrawn the Bills head coaching job, which means he is not going to take the Bills head coaching job. Oh, that would have been a great hire because he was a serious contender for this Bills job. Unfortunately, he probably felt like he rather wants to be a NFL Hall of Famer. He has to wait for 5 years to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. Instead, no, not going to coach for the Bills. But they have completed an interview with Broncos quarterbacks coach Davis Webb. Now, Davis Webb is one of the fan favorites. Everyone has been hearing a lot about Davis Webb, who has been around the league, of course, as a player, but as a coach. He is the current quarterbacks coach for the Broncos. And listen, I will not be surprised if he takes a head coaching job with the way he has done with Bo Nix and the Broncos in that quarterback room. Wherever he goes, right now he's going to interview for the Raiders head coaching job. So if he ends up getting either the Bills head coaching job or the Raiders head coaching job, he is going to be working with not just the quarterback, but to the organization. I think for me, wherever Davis Webb goes, if he ends up getting one of those two jobs, my only question is, will he be calling the plays? Will he be ending up finding a new OCDC who are going to call the plays? And let's say a scenario. If he takes the Raiders job, does he want to pick Fernando Mendoza? We'll find out and we'll see where it goes. Rams pass game coordinator Nate Schulhouse has completed a second interview for the Browns head coaching job. Former Giants interim head coach Mike Kafka is joining the team's staff in a high-ranking offensive position, which we don't know what that position is going to be. We'll find out sooner than later. I mentioned Davis Webb is interviewing for the Raiders head coaching job. Defensive tackle for the Chargers, Terrion Tart, has agreed to terms on a 3-year extension worth of $37.5 million guaranteed. Chargers have also completed an interview with safeties coach Adam Fuller for their defensive coordinator job. Eagles are promoting safeties coach Joe Casper to be the defensive pass game coordinator and DB's coach. Dolphins offensive coordinator Frank Smith is interviewing for the Eagles OC job. And again, this OC job by the Eagles, they're just looking for that one person that's going to have to stay in Philadelphia for maybe 3 years in order for them to take the head coaching job. Also, we have some Pro Bowl implications, which something is going on right now, so I'll get some of them out of the way. What was it? Dalton Kincaid is going to be in the Pro Bowl. He's replacing Travis Kelce. Shedeur Sanders. This is a bigger surprise. Shedeur Sanders is replacing Drake May in the Pro Bowl. Now, is this funny? Yes. And questions around would be, why is it not Lamar Jackson? It should have been Lamar Jackson. Like, come on. It should have been Lamar Jackson. Should have been Lamar. Jake Ferguson is going to be at the Pro Bowl. I believe he's replacing George Kittle. I'm trying to think who else is in the Pro Bowl games, because they're going to replace some of those players who are injured who are not going to be in, who are not going to join the Pro Bowl games, and also / Super Bowl, which, yes, the teams who we have, the Seahawks and the Patriots, are both going to the Super Bowl, and with those players from that Pro Bowl games are not going to participate because they're joining to the Super Bowl. That's it for NFL news, January 26, 2026. If you're not seeing my other videos, go check them out on my channel. Of course, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for more sports news.